while the setup is going on, very good afternoon everyone. My name is Vijay Pampana. Even sometimes I wonder why do I have a middle name that I don't get to use. So as you can see, it's Vijay Pampana there. So today's session that I'm going to talk about is insights to actionables. So analytics to actionables the other way. So I know it's afternoon, most of you had lunch and probably you are feeling a bit sleepy. That's the feel that I'm getting from the room. So in case you are sleepy, my advice to you is take a power nap for the next couple of minutes or the couple of slides, because those are the most boring slides that I have in the entire presentation. And the meat of the presentation starts from the third slide onwards, and please try and pay attention to that. All right, so let's begin with the boring slides. I hope it's visible for everybody. But anyway, actionable insights, what are they, right? So we are talking about insights that are significant discoveries that you would make, from the raw data or different types of data that you accumulate and you collect them, right? You analyze them and you carve out the insights. And the benefits are multitude. What are the sort of benefits that we are talking about when you go from, different data analytics into insights, right? So it drives business strategy, definitely, and it will help you make an informed decision making, and it improves customer or consumer experience in the end, which is what the different brands and companies strive to build for. So how do you change analytics to insights or actionables? So let me introduce you to this gentleman. Familiar? Familiar name? Right. So what I thought was, instead of taking you to another round of generic, how do you translate actions to, or raw data into analytics, into insights, into actionables, I thought, why don't we invite the greatest detective that all of us know into the room and let him solve the business cases that we have, which is how we do at P&G as well. So basically, this session is kind of called How to Think Like Sherlock. So why Sherlock? What's so special about him? What do you guys think? What's so special about Sherlock Holmes? Art of deduction, that was on the slide. Sorry? Observation, brilliant. Anything else? Connect the dots, brilliant. Eye to the details, observation, brilliant. Curiosity, great. All of you are on the right track. So I'll tell you what I tend to notice, right? What's so special about him? He simplifies the complex of the cases, which is what you would see in any of the Sherlock series or the notebooks or the books that you read. Minute observation of details, couple of you have mentioned this. And connecting the dots, one of you have called this one out as well. And the most beautiful part, he is able to string a story together by connecting all of this. So let's see how Sherlock can help businesses. What's the Sherlock mindset? I'll tell you in a good framework of 5 different principles, which will enable you in every walk of life, not just in business, on how to look at things and analyze and come back with something that's really actionable and meaningful, right? First job of a good detective is to define the crime, right? What is the objective? What is the problem that you're trying to solve for? At P&G, I can vouch for it. Like, we spend nearly 80% of our time defining the problem and articulating it in the most crisper manner. Because if you know the problem that you are defining, then the rest of the things will flow. So succinct articulation of the problem that needs to be solved is the most critical part of any business analysis that you guys are doing, right? And it could be, it always begins with asking why, right? Say somebody, let's say if I ask you, you go and build a bridge. What would you do? You can go off, build a bridge, or if you pause for a moment, you come back and ask me, why do you need a bridge for? Then I'll tell you, I need a bridge to go across the river. then there will be a myriad of solutions that open up, right? So to go across the river, you can get a ferry, or you can have me a hot air balloon, or you can ask me to swim across, or dug a tunnel and stuff, right? So there are multiple solutions that appear. Once you get the purpose or the objective clarity on what you are doing, why you are doing that. Once you define that crime, the immediate next step, identifying the suspects, right? So your business is tanking. You have a problem that you want to turn around the business, regain the market leadership or whatever. What are the possible suspects? List down every possible element out there, right? Is your media strategy not working? Is your communication plan not up to the mark? Is your pricing probably not competitive versus the rest of the market? Or is competition doing much more better share of voice than what you are doing? Or is your distribution has gone down the drain? So identify every possible suspect out there and you frame the hypothesis. It's a yes or no. Any hypothesis is a simple yes or no, right? So either you say my distribution or the number of stores that I am distributed in is going down, or you say it's going up. But my distribution going down is a good hypothesis to have, and you rule it out, yes or no, right? So frame that hypothesis, question every single possible element out there, and the most important one, confirmation bias. What do you think is a confirmation bias? Anyone in the room? All right, I'll tell you. So confirmation bias is almost having a preconceived notion that this is the thing that is not working. I'll just go and confirm that, find data to find this is the thing that's not working. So that's why it's important not to have a confirmation bias. What you need is MECE, is mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. So ensure that you are questioning every part of possibility out there, list down every single thing, and then once you have all the questions, move on to the next step, which is investigation, right? So like they say, right, trust is good, but checking is always better. So you might trust that a certain thing is probably based on your gut is not the thing that is gone wrong, it is working, and it could be some other issue that is related to the business. But have you investigated it? Why don't you investigate? What are you losing by checking and just reaffirming whatever you are believing is true? So it's always good to derive that investigation plan by getting the right data research or having the gut for the data as well. And most often, as detectives do, visit the crime scene. Where is the problem? If you say this is my problem, just visit and go there, reconstruct the crime scene. What is it as an example in business, right? So let's say you suspect your wholesale business is going down the drain. The number of wholesalers are going down. Visit the wholesale market. Go ahead and observe. Just observe how things are moving. What are the different retailers coming and asking questions to the wholesalers? Are they trying to buy your products or buy your brands? What sort of questions they are asking? And then you can also ask and learn from the wholesalers. More and more the research these days from a marketing standpoint, I dare say, is moving towards listening than asking, right? So the more you listen to your consumers or customers or the retailers or your e-commerce partners, whoever they may be, the better your insights or your investigation is going to be. So just make sure that you're reconstructing, observing as well. And what is a homeless network? In English, probably. What is a homeless network? Forget business. Homeless network, basically network outside where you are, or outside your home. In other words, who are your eyes or your feet and hands on the ground? Are you in touch with them? If you are working from an office in Mumbai and your product is selling, let's say, in the rural parts of UP or Uttar Pradesh, are you in touch with the local field force or the sales force who is doing that selling? And what are the insights that you are getting from those local people to really understand, whatever you are suspecting is true or not? right? So you hear that out, because this is the homeless network, because nowadays people are like working more remotely, more and more, and thanks to pandemic, things have become much more virtual than physical. So this becomes even more important in building your network, both vertically in your organization, horizontally and externally. So just make sure that this network is always there to help you investigate whatever you're suspecting on the business. Then the art of deduction and elimination, right? So you have the data, you have already framed the hypothesis. It's a simple yes, no. So are you able to conclude or exclude whatever is, the impossible, and build that story, right? And the important thing here is, again, most of the time, I think there is a famous quote like, if you play around with the data enough, it will tell you what you want it to tell you, right? But it's always the other way around, because change the theory to fit the facts, not the facts to fit the theory. That's most critical if you are going to be true to your business. So once you deduce and once you eliminate, it's a simple thing, right? You catch the criminal. So how do you catch the criminal? You recommend based on whatever your identified possibilities are, as some things that you would want to step change, right? Once you ruled it out, you probably will narrow down to one or two things that probably are driving the or where the motive for the crime, right? And that's how you simplify the story. And it's always important to run this story through your multifunctional teams, right? Because it's always good to have that broader view of things versus just sticking to one lens or one view, and just confirming or getting the other perspective also will be helpful. Talking about so that's the simple framework in terms of how do you translate, the core of the entire session is here, right? How do you translate raw data into something that's more actionable for your business? For that, like I said, you define the crime as a detective, you identify the suspects, and then you carve out the investigation plan, you reduce and eliminate, and then catch the criminal. That's how simple it is. But this is not as simple to follow. And most businesses actually tend to miss out identifying the right criminals just because of not diligently following or going with some confirmation bias, or not doing the thorough investigation plan per se. Right. So I talked about defining the crime. Here's a quote from one of the most renowned people that we know on what he thinks he would do if there is a problem that he needs to solve for his life. He would spend the first 55 minutes out of the entire hour that he has determining the proper question to ask. And I can't emphasize this enough. Having the proper question to ask is going to be the most critical thing if you're trying to carve out anything out of any data or any business situation, right? Let's take an example. Let's say I'm running a business and I'm going like for the 6 months straight, I've been missing my forecast. My forecast is 100 crore turnover, just making the numbers up every month on month. And I've been delivering 80 to 90 in that range while investing super heavily in terms of all my different inputs, be it on the media plans or my... All right, so that's the last slide that I had. I'm happy to take any questions as we go.
Hi. You are a product company, right? Consumers consume your product which is handed out to them. They do not generate any data. So I'm assuming you don't have consumer data in terms of consumption. So how do you analyze this data, and how do you use that data to ensure that you create stickiness for your subscriber or your consumer to stay?
We are doing this one at a time. Okay, cool. So good question. So firstly, I think if you can't find the most accurate data, you can always find the closest surrogates, right? Let's say I won't be able to say yes or no to your question whether I'm having consumer data or not, because that's a confidential business information. But that said, whether you have the consumer information or not, you can find surrogates, right? Like if you think about the supply chain, let's say your corporate is shipping to distributors, if you have a distributor model, and the distributors are shipping to the wholesalers. The wholesalers are shipping to the retail. The retailers are selling it to the consumers. That's the end consumer. In this entire chain, you might have some data at some point, right? It's not that at least this first leg of data is yours. It is what your corporate is, shipping to the consumers, to the distributors, right? Figure out if you are able to get the rest of the data in any of this chain. That will help you carve out more insights per se. And once you have the data, then you can play around with it. All the rest, the second part of your question gets answered there, right? How do you, ensure that there is retention or people are sticking to your brand, or the loyalty is there. See, for me, since I'm in a pharmaceutical world, I come from the healthcare industry. Once you feel that a certain product works, generally it's also true for most other categories, but it's far more true in a healthcare industry, where once a certain product is working, and especially if a certain doctor also recommends, then you tend to not change that per se. So you don't need to worry about that. It's always the initial trial and the person getting convinced that matters, right? If your product is of high quality, the retention takes care of itself.
Hi, my name is Riya. Wanted to ask you, you spoke about not having a bias, right? So I wanted to ask, not everybody has access to market research always. Maybe a little smaller firm, or maybe you need to go quickly to market. In such a scenario, how do you not form a bias? And then what do you do?
Okay, let me rephrase the question so that I understand it better, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? What you're saying is, if I go back to the framework, I'm just talking it into the framework so that it sticks in your mind. So you have suspects. You have a situation, you have a problem to solve, you have suspects. To rule each of these suspects, you might not have the market research or data.
Yeah.
So you don't have enough data to investigation. So you have, let's say, A, B, C, D. One or the other has to be right or wrong for you to go forward. And what do you do in case you don't have data? Is that how you are phrasing? Okay. Cool. Interesting question. So more often than not, right? Can you generate that data is how you would look at it. Because see, if you don't have data, you're not making an informed decision in first place, right? And data generation in this era, especially with the advent of digital technology, etc., is not that difficult. So this would be my first advice. I'll come and tell you how you can solve for it if you don't have data. My first advice is always to ensure that you find the data, because data tells you the story. Data tells you what exactly is happening, right? You can run a quick survey among 200 individuals, good enough sample size to really understand what's happening, where did something go wrong, right? In different among different suspects that you had identified. Now, if you don't have any data, how do you go with ruling out without bias? If you don't have data, you only have bias, right? So what you should do then is test. You can India is many countries in one country. You think this is an issue, A, B, C, D. A is an issue. What would you do if A is an issue? If let's say A is your communication plan change. Okay, change the communication plan. Pilot and figure out if that is step changing in a geography 1. And in geography 2, go and fix B. In geography 3, go and fix C. Or you phase these things out, that you would do this, fixing A in geography 1, learn on it, and then you go ahead and do the fixing of, and take your best gun in doing that test, pilot and pivot, P&P, simple. Welcome.
Hello, sir. I have a question about that campaign of Neurobian Fort. So I just so wanted to know what was your true intention behind that campaign? So you wanted to promote Neurobian as over-the-counter drug by that campaign, or you just wanted to, promote the habit of person consulting to a doctor and then leveraging your brand awareness? I mean that Neurobian Fort had built,
Sure. Okay, let me put it this way, right? So, in the entire campaign, or even stepping back from the campaign, what is our vision and mission at P&G? We are there to touch and improve lives. And we follow this in every walk of our lives. I have a boss in P&G. Every single person in P&G has a boss. And everybody boss is a common boss. It's not the CEO of the company, but it's the consumer. So we all tend to listen to our consumers, right? So in this case, the whole intent is to ensure that we are able to touch and improve more, because the business results will follow when your motive is right. So in this case, our starting motive is to fix that, awareness about vitamin B deficiency and thereof the symptoms. People don't ignore this as something that's very trivial, and as a result, you're driving that message of symptom awareness and then getting early diagnosis. And if they tend to, purchase Neurobion 40 is actually an over-the-counter. There is no hiding on this, right? So if it happens on the brand, well and good. But more often than not, when you show the love, it will only reciprocate, right? So, all right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vijay, for that very insightful session.